someone always reminds you of someone else, doesn't it? And we got a couple of fellas up Dullaball who used to go fishing out on the rocks. They was doing it for something like 12 months. They'd been fishing off the rocks and they never caught a single fish. And it become rather urgent because one of them was terminally ill. And he said, he said, I'd love to catch a fish before I die. He was in the pub, see, having a few pints of beer, and he said, you know, I would dearly like to catch a fish. We've been dangling a line here for years, and we haven't caught a single fish. So there was a fella from Port Isaac was listening in, see, and he said, here, I'll tell you what, you boys, I got a boat. You can go out with me next weekend. I'll take you out in the boat. So he said, oh, that's a proper job. So they went down Port Isaac and got in this boat with their fishing tackle, see. Well, damn it, they'd no sooner got outside the harbour, and there was awful wind blowing up, and the seas was tossing, see, and they was called Kurt and Ken. Ian Bray knows them well. Anyway, Kurt was the one who was terminally ill, and it wasn't very long before Kurt was doing things over the side, you see. Over the side of the boat, he decided that he was going to evacuate his stomach. So he did this for about a half hour, and the boat was tossing around, and they found fish. Well, by this time, Kurt was begging for him to go back in Port Isaac, because he said, I've had enough of it, boy. He said, I wish I was dead. So he said, well, we'll go back directly, catch a few fish. You do want to catch a fish or two. So they pulled the fish in, mackerel, 10 to the line, 10 hooks on it, 10 fish every time, see? And Kurt wouldn't have been interested. And Ken was catching the fish like the billio. Well, as soon as they stopped catching fish, Ken went a bit pale, and he said to the skipper of the boat, he said, what do we do when you want to do number 2, you know, to see them? So he said, well, funny you should mention it, but we've got an old bucket here. So he brought out a bucket. You know these buckets with old handle that's a bit, got a cutting edge to it, you know, so you got a ring of confidence for a couple of days afterwards, you know where. So, anyway, he sat down on this bucket where nobody else could see, and he performed on this one, see? Well, he'd half filled the bucket, and he got up. Kurt was still down there half dead, see? He drunk about a gallon and evacuated 2 gallons at Kurt. So Ken got up and he said, well, you know, what do we do with it when you perform in the bucket? So the skipper said, well, thick aid, you wave it over the side, didn't it? Well, see, there's this wind blowing in from the north. And by this time, Kurt was thinking, well, I'm better off than he, because he'd got over it, he evacuated his stomach, he was feeling quite perky now, see? So he stood up and said, what's the matter with you, Ken? Don't he know what's going on? He said, I'm just going to have the bucket over the side a minute. But silly fool ate him right off into the teeth of the wind, see? And the wind carried it back, and who do we think it hit in the face? Poor old Kurt. He was half dead already. Sorry about that. That's the end of the story.